most important success factor about whether an individual will be able to publish a book?
Welcome, everyone. Brett here with CraveBooks, and today I'm speaking with April Cox. She is an author who has written multiple five-star books, and she has helped other authors publish 127 plus books in 2023 alone, and that's just 1 year. And the way she does this is she runs an author work group where she works with authors to help them go from zero to published, basically, in 3 months. And it was originally called the Author Work Group. I think the name has changed.
Yeah, my marketing and sales VP has decided to help brand it the 90-day way. So it's 90 days to go from manuscript to self-published book. And this is with the lion's share of folks are with children's books.
Yeah, so I think that's a great idea in terms of rebranding that way, because Author Work Group is, I mean, I understand it, and I think the rest of the people understand it, but when you comes to marketing, and this goes for books, whatever, you want something that's catchy, a
Yeah.
title that catches them with your book. So I actually was part of April's work group in 2022, which seems like apparently it was 2 years ago, seems like yesterday. And she helped me publish my very first children's book, which I don't like to toot my own horn, but thanks to her help, I just got the coveted BookBub featured deal in December, which kind of is a nice little confirmation that you've written a good book that people
Yeah.
want to read. And I want to
And
say
your
thank you so much for
story,
that.
oh, you're welcome. Your story is amazing. I hope you keep working on your books because I think kids need them.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I've learned that it is a process. Definitely a process. Don't approach this with the mindset of I'm going to publish this book and I'm going to get rich.
Mm.
It's a process, a slow process. So let's get into this. April, could you tell everyone a little bit about your background, maybe your expertise
Mhm.
prior to getting into self-publishing?
Yeah, so I started as I'm definitely a geek, a technology geek. I love computer programming. That's where I started my career. And in IT, when you are actually really good with people and programming, that is a very rare find. So I I was quickly kind of marshaled into this new thing called project management. So I became a project manager, managing IT groups of programmers, and I was in IT for 35 years before finally kind of getting to the point where it just wasn't fun anymore. Something I loved so much it just wasn't very fun, and I felt like. Um, the good Lord was calling me to do something different, and I really wanted to get away. And so I started with just a passion project. I was like, okay, if I'm jumping out of bed every morning and at least I have something to look forward to, something fun that I'm doing on the side, then I can, continue to work what I'm doing. And at the time, my grandbabies were coming, and I had these amazing little people that I was bonding with over children's stories. And I just thought, wow, I could do this. I would love to try this as a passion project, as something of a legacy project for them. And that's kind of how my story began.
Yeah, I read a statistic a couple weeks ago, I think, when I was trying to find some inspiration for an email. I think it said that 90% of people have a book in them when interviewed that they would like to write, but 90% of people definitely don't write a book. And I think the statistic was 30 or 40% write the book,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
even less publish the book.
Yeah, I think that it's like 1 to 3% of the people actually publish the book, which is just unbelievable. And that's one of the reasons why, not just to help people publish, but I found during my publishing, because of course it didn't stop after the one book, there were multiple books, and then There was a prayer and a hope that I would be able to exit the IT world and really do this as a job. And I really fully intended it to be just book publishing for myself. And the more that I did that, the more that I found people in author groups on Facebook and things like that asking questions. They had all kinds of problems. There were predatory publishers taking advantage of people, and no and there was a real big question about who can you trust, who can help me do this, so that I'm not signing with some predatory publisher that's going to take my money and disappear, or that's going to give low quality work for a very big ticket price. So that's how my first work group began. It was free, and it was like, hey, I'm going to be doing my next book. I've got the manuscript. How many other people have manuscripts ready to go? Let's do it together. And that's kind of how it started.
Yeah, I think that's how a lot of things start. Just you do it for free because you
Hmm.
enjoy doing it, and then it evolves from there. Could you give us a little bit more information on your work group? And obviously, it started as a free work group, working with other authors and
Hmm.
sharing your experience. But how did it evolve into what it is now?
Yeah, so every single time we went through the group together, and it was a 90-day, so 12-week period. And we, at first, we were kind of winging it, like, okay, these are all the things we need to do to get the book published. So we focused on that. And then we went back and said, okay, what could we do to improve next time, so that, because there were a number of people that were getting stuck at finding an illustrator, finding the right editor, and so we started to, or I started to pre-vet and load up and create my list of illustrators, editors, designers, and people that they could trust. I started building that network, and of course, that came from my IT background, where I was very used to working with vendors and, building strong networks. Because if you're rolling out multi-million dollar projects in IT, you better know how to build relationships and
Hmm.
build and know how to interview vendors and get the right people and make sure you're negotiating the best possible deal and timeline, and getting people to stick to that timeline. So that came pretty naturally to me with my experience and background. And so now, and we kept doing that, right? I mean, I've been doing this for 6 years now. So
Wow.
I and we do it anywhere from 2 to 4 times a year. And with each and every rollout of the group, we just keep asking, or keep looking at those people that had delays in publishing. Where did they get stuck? How can we fix it? So I feel like now it is like train tracks. You just you put somebody on the train, and it just takes them right through. And they have every tool and template, and we cover a marketing topic every single week, along with the lessons for that week. So it has turned into a we meet live twice a week, and that hasn't changed since the beginning of this author group, because even though the majority of people who do teach on self-publishing push people to videos, and there's very little live interaction with the mentors,
Exactly.
I felt like the key to success with my group is that we are there for 90 minutes twice a day, twice a week, and they have access to the people. They are together as a community, and they're asking their questions, they're going through their homework, and I'm teaching about a particular topic. So it is really helpful. And so it has that component. It has an app where you can access things online, as well as download them to your mobile phone, and you can watch the videos. It has a you know workbook that's very comprehensive that
That's
walks
new,
people through.
correct?
It is new. That we started a couple of work groups ago. So started, I think, in 2022, toward the end of 2022. And it has been phenomenal because they have the ability to, work through all of the activities. There is a very quick and easy way to just jump right into the lesson by scanning the QR code from the workbook, and it'll pull up the lessons for you as well. And so they have all of that. Plus, I also put together a resource library, which has, it has a list of over 700 children's book influencers. It has my self-publishing contract between the author and illustrator. It has my pre-vetted list of people, and dozens more things in there: social media templates, launch team, and launch process with templates to go with it. Everything that, anybody got stuck on, or we found that we needed a way of utilizing something else to help make it easier. We just put it together for authors, and it's become quite comprehensive. I think I've probably spent about $20,000 developing that resource library.
Oh wow, that's a lot. I mean, I can tell because I was there and
Mhm.
I saw all of the resources. And I think what people should understand from this work group, even if you haven't been in it, is the importance of a mentor or a community when you're getting started. Don't be afraid to reach out. I mean, the hardest thing about starting something new that you don't know anything about is doing it yourself,
Yes.
right? For me, when I joined that work group, my favorite thing of that work group was, instead of having to go on Google and searching for 30 minutes to try and find how do I get an ISBN, or where's the best place to get an ISBN, in that work group, in that community, I can just say, hey, what should I do for my ISBN? And it's like, oh yes, this one, or this one. These are your options. And I
Hmm.
think that's super important, which you didn't have, I'm assuming, when you first started publishing, like a
No,
mentor.
no, not really. I mean, I joined some of the Facebook groups that were out there that really have a lot of children's book authors collected together. And the funny thing is, about whether you're Googling, you're going on YouTube, or you're in a Facebook group where you're asking questions, is that you're going to get a lot of different answers. And they're not all, even though they're conflicting, it doesn't necessarily mean one is wrong and one is right. It depends on your situation. And so having somebody to help you, to give you the right answer based on your specific situation, is important. And I feel like the more books that I publish, which this past year in 2023, we were close to 200 books. And so that's me publishing through my work group with my authors. It's also me with private clients that I help, and mentoring clients. So there's, a variety of different services that I provide through my self-publishing Made Simple brand. And it is, but when you have somebody that has done that many books, there's not much of anything that I haven't faced already. And a lot of the people that you're asking questions of, perhaps maybe published 20 or something like that over the lifetime. But it takes a lot of experience to come up against all of the various different options that has, been there, done that, and done it continuously to the point of perfecting it. And that's the problem, is that there's a lot of gurus out there that just haven't been through as much many books publishing, and as many particular situations. They've really focused on their own situation and what's right for them. And it's easy to tell people what you do, but the more important thing is to listen and understand what situation is this individual in. Some gurus will say you must print all your books in hardcover, in China, or do, do those. Other people swear by KDP, by print on demand. Other people say, sell everything on your website. Some people swear by Amazon. What's right for you? Well, there's a lot of questions and curiosity that you have to be able to really understand what somebody is trying to accomplish in order to advise them correctly.
Yeah, I think depending on the situation, that is a big thing because,
Mhm.
like you said, some Facebook group run by whoever the guru is might say this is the way to do it, but that works for someone who has this much budget, and you
Yeah.
may only have this much budget.
Mhm.
So I think that's like super important when you're looking for a Facebook group or someone to work with as a mentor, is that they understand your problems, understand where you're coming from.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right. Or willing to listen. And I think the most important success factor about whether an individual will be able to publish a book starts with their mindset. It's very easy to give up. As you said, Brett, it is a long process. It can be, can be convoluted. When you first start learning about self-publishing, it's like drinking from a fire hose, and there's all this information, and you just don't know what to do. But if you have a strong why and a mindset of, I can do this, I will do this, and you've got the grit to push through when things get difficult, and to continue to take steps forward, even if they're baby steps, that will make a difference. And also being in a community of other people who are all doing it together, that is just, I feel like that's the magic that helps get your mindset around what you're doing together, because you're there rooting others on. You're seeing what's happening with their books. They're seeing what's happening with yours. And you're never going to launch to crickets because you've got this community of people doing this together and with you.
yeah, I think that's super important. Working with that community, there's a feedback effect with
Mm,
all your other fellow authors. You understand each other's problems, and you're able to feed off each other. When someone does well publishing their book, or they just release their book, it kind of gives you motivation to finish and
mm-hmm,
publish your book. And on this topic of like motivation, I want to get into some kind of tips and strategies in book marketing, and also some of the common pitfalls and mistakes that you've seen authors make.
mm.
And if you have any horror stories with predatory publishers, I'm sure
Yeah,
people
there
would love
are.
to know what to look out for.
We definitely have that. So let's start with, common mistakes. So, first of all, make sure that you don't move forward with publishing your book until you have a professional edit, not your friend, family member, professor, but have somebody whose job it is to edit your books. And
And I want to cut you off. I'm sorry,
yeah.
but that is so important because when I started publishing, and April gave me the name of this editor, and the editor told me, "Hey, your children's book is twice as long as a normal children's book. Let's cut that down." I was like, "Thank you so much," because if I had made that mistake and not gone through a
Hmm.
editor, I would have never known the length of a children's book, and it
That's
would have
right.
been that much harder to sell.
Yeah, and it's so important. And these, I mean, the same way that I have done 200 children's books this past year, the editor that is my primary editor that I is my go-to, and there are I have a list of editors you can trust, but she's been in this business for 30 years. Like, you just can't find, search for somebody on Fiverr, which is what I did to get when I got started. I made all the mistakes, and that's why I tried to not, others not do it. I paid one editor, it was $49 to edit, but I didn't realize that I had been requesting, like, kind of like a proofread kind of edit, Now that's not the type of edit that we need. We need a developmental edit, somebody that looks at your character arc, the number of words, the vocabulary you're using for the particular age group, and they will help you shape that into the perfect story. For, take your words, capture your voice, but make sure that that turns into something that can be professionally produced, because our goal is to compete with traditional publishers. So we must have a high quality book, and that's one thing that is the utmost goal in my 90-day way. We go through this developmental editing. We go through the illustration process with high quality illustrators, designers that are going to do this, to make the book able to compete with any traditionally published book. So mine is not one like you've seen out there where it's like, oh, and you can write it in a weekend and you can use PowerPoint or Canva to lay out your book, use their clip art, and voila, you're published author when you upload that to KDP. That's not what I'm trying to do, and those aren't my people. The people that will best be served with my group is the ones that really want to make a business out of this, or create something special that can be sold right alongside some of those traditionally published books. So, number one mistake, don't skip the professional editing. There are multiple types of editing. If you have a comprehensive edit, that will include your developmental edit, it'll include line edit, copy editing, and proofreading at the end. So there's multiple different types of editing that will start really comprehensive with the developmental, and then, looking at the composition of your paragraphs, the flow of your work, and then things like spelling and grammar check, and then final proofread before you go live. So that's the first most, I would say most important thing. Never, ever skip that. Number two, I would say, would be make sure not to skimp on the illustrations. If you are writing a children's book, I would probably argue that more than 50% of your story is told by your illustrations. And so if you're grabbing clip art, that is not going to be a good flow, and it's not going to represent your book the way you want it to. That doesn't mean you have to pay a fortune for your illustrations. You can still have beautiful illustrations on a lower budget, but you need to make sure that the illustrations are professional. And so you did that with yours. I thought you did a great job, Brett, with the illustrations in your book.
Yeah, that was actually a process, definitely, because I was working with an illustrator in Indonesia who was awesome, super, super cool guy. Just every now and then with the language barrier, it's like, hey, can we
Mhm.
tweak this here? And he would do it, but it wouldn't be exactly like, I don't think he really understood what I meant. And for me, that was
Mhm.
a learning process, because then I went through with my graphic designer, who was definitely more expensive than my illustrator. And I was like, hey, can you help me fix these? And she did. But in
Mhm.
the end, it cost me more money. But my whole goal was to make sure those illustrations were perfect and on point, and because that's what the kids are looking at. The kids aren't looking at the
Yeah.
words, they're listening and looking at the illustrations.
Yeah.
Um,
And like I mentioned, they don't have to look like Disney, Pixar. When you look at Diary of a Wimpy Kid, right? Those are really simple illustrations, but it's very professionally done and it's very suited to the book. So that's a cool thing that you can do. You can simplify, you can have less characters, you can have less background images. It can be black and white illustrations like they are with Diary of a Wimpy Kid, depending on the type of book that you're writing. But the most important thing is it just needs to be professional and it needs to be fitting of your story. So yeah, don't skimp on illustrations. Uh, do some research into the best illustration styles and things for your book. Um, Another would be, of course, probably should have put this at the beginning, is don't get duped with predatory publishers. There are some, whew, I've seen some horror stories out there. People that have come to me and said, my publisher, and let's start by, how you might find that, how these guys find you. So first of all, these children's book groups, Facebook groups and things like that, there are people there monitoring, oh, you're publishing a book. And that's one way that sometimes they'll get in touch with you. Another way is when you file your copyright for your manuscript, they monitor those types of groups, because it's public information, copyright and trademark. So if you file either of those, you are going to get inundated with people contacting you saying, you wrote your book and we'd love to publish it. Can we talk about this? And sometimes they're relentless. Other times, you might be Googling and find on Google a publisher that pops up, and you think, okay, this might be a good option. But some of the red flags that I would say to watch out for is, number one, who is going to own the ISBN? It's important that you do, because it's your project. And if they're helping you publish, then, and they own the ISBN, and it's going to be under their account. If something happens to that relationship, or very often what happens is the publisher goes out of business, or they just stop responding to things, and you have no way of getting them to take your listing down so that you can republish it yourself. All of your royalties are going into their account, and according to the contract, they're supposed to pay you out of it. But some of these publishers they're just not following through. And I've worked with a couple of my authors to contact Amazon and say, hey, this publishing company is not responding. They seem to be out of business. They have, this author's book listed, and we want to get it taken down so that we can relaunch it. They won't do it. Amazon, you
Mm.
can't get any help from Amazon. The biggest thing about predatory publishers is that their prices are extremely high, and the quality seems to be very low. And I've had this happen where authors, see me responding to questions in a Facebook group, or they hear about me from somebody else. They set up a meeting with me, and they're like, okay, could you help me to improve my Amazon listing, because I'm not getting a lot of sales? So I say, let's look at it together. And the cover is subpar. It's not good. The interior, when you do like the look inside, sometimes the illustrations are fine, but it's just, you can tell it is not professionally laid out by a designer. And even some of the editing, the words, like when I look at some of these, it looks as if the individual did it all themselves, and they didn't have any help. And all the common mistakes that I would be trying to help them fix. And I'll be like, well, we should take a step back, and we should fix, and I'll start giving them some ideas of the things that they need to fix. And then they proceed to tell me how much they paid for it, tens of thousands of dollars to have this book created. And the publishers had editors that they used, they had illustrators that they used, they did the cover design and the layout, and they charged a lot of money for all of that, and then they published it. And some individuals are like, hey, I don't want to do all this stuff, I don't want to learn all this stuff, I just want a publisher to do it for me. And if they can't get any interest in traditional publishing by traditional publishers, they will find either a vanity press or one of these others that is like a hybrid, or a they call them assisted publishers, and they will do the work for the author. but if the quality is just not good, there's so much to be careful for. And I say, ask around. That's probably the biggest way to figure it out is ask around, look for reviews. Um, Also, take a look at some other books that the publisher has done. Is that the quality that you would want your book in? And some of them, do have respected hybrid publishing houses, and you can see by the quality of their work. You can ask them questions. They give you a little bit more input into what you're doing, but you will definitely be paying for it. So it's not always the wrong decision because some people want that help. But boy, the number of people that have been taken advantage of by predatory publishers, or even predatory providers like illustrators that will post in these groups and then they're going to give you this great deal, but you have to pay up front. And then you pay up front and they disappear. And it's like, they're not responding to me. What's going on? You've just been scammed. There's so many scams out there. It's very difficult to know who you can trust.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you said it. Talk to people, get their experience, and even reach out to authors that have
Mhm.
published books with them and get their experience and feedback. If you see quality books and you talk to these authors and they say, yeah, it's great, then you have a much better idea. But if you reach out to the authors and they say, they're all right, then I mean, you want to ask
Yeah,
around, look around, maybe
yeah,
find a different option, or just self-publish. I mean,
right,
there's
right.
tons of resources out
And
there.
if you come to my group, to my 90-day way, I've got the list of pre-vetted people you can trust. And if anything is goes awry, I'm on that phone with them. They have to answer to me because I send a lot of business their way, and they're not, they know it's not just the one author that they're working with. They're working with me, and like I said, I've got hundreds of books each year that we're publishing, and these providers that are on my pre-vetted list do really well. And but they have particular, like, I pre-negotiate pricing, and I make sure that, and I have had some illustrators I've had to take off. I've had where they started really well, and then after a while, they stopped being responsive or something else happened. And I was like, they're off. And I've got
Yeah.
people calling me like, hey, can I get back on? And I'm, you know, it's just not
Hmm.
gonna, I can't have illustrators that take too long, or that because it's a 12-week group, right? So if they can't get through the illustration process within 6 to 8 weeks, then that delays people from being able to meet their goals for the 12 weeks. So there's a lot of things that go into that. And if there's any issues at all with communication and customer service, because I hold all of these vendors at a very high standard, and I will just take them off. There's plenty of others on the list that people can choose from, and I want to make sure it's a good experience. And I also have authors that come in with some great people and say, hey, this person's not on your list, but I had such an amazing experience with them. I'm using them again for this book. And by the time that, the project is finishing, I'm reaching out to that illustrator and saying, hey, these are my, this is the type of thing that I do with my group. Are you interested in being a part of it? And they just have to agree to the terms and the things that I do. And so having that pre-vetted list is really huge.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it definitely helped me and served me well,
Hmm.
knowing I could trust these people, this illustrator, this graphic designer.
Hmm.
Well, we're getting close to running out of time, but I still want to throw out some more fun questions,
No. Yep.
and see what you think about these. So, the first one is: would you rather have your book turned into an animated movie or a best-selling video game?
I like the idea of the animated movie because I'm more into movies than video games. But I think
I
that
w-
would be
I would say
I think
video
that would
game
be
because
fun.
I'm more into video games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
All
it.
right. The next one we got is, would you rather have your book featured in a famous celebrity's book club, or would you rather see your book in every library in the world?
Every library in the world,
Every library.
definitely.
Why is that?
Getting the book in the hands of more kids, especially kids, and families. Like, libraries were where I spent my weekends with my 4 kids as a single mom,
Mm,
and, I know the importance of libraries and what they do, especially for people that can't afford to buy the books themselves. Um, it's has a very special place in my heart, so I would say libraries.
yeah, I would probably, it depends on the celebrity, but I think I would go library. All right, we're gonna do some kind of rapid fire, finish the sentence right
Okay.
now. All right, so when I first started writing children's books, I never imagined.
How much fun it would be with and how much my grandkids would want to be involved.
Agreed. I don't have grandkids, but how much fun,
Mhm.
definitely. The most surprising thing about self-publishing is
The most surprising thing, how many people want to do it and how popular it has become.
definitely with all the technology. All right, my favorite part of the creative process is
I love working with authors, and I know that that's probably not the direction you were asking about, but there is nothing like being on the other side of a Zoom call when a publisher hits when an author hits publish for the first time. It is just the most amazing feeling knowing that I'm helping make somebody else's dream come true. So that is my by far the most favorite thing, and that's why I'm doing so much more work with authors.
definitely a helper's high on that one for sure.
Mhm.
All right, if I weren't an author, I would probably be
If I wasn't an author, see, I feel like I've done my IT stuff. What else? Oh, I would probably be traveling the world. I
uh,
really, and that's one of my on my bucket list, to really travel more and get out into the world and see more of the world. So I would probably be like a travel blogger or something.
that's fist bump for me right there. I'm right there with you. All right, the biggest change I've seen in the publishing industry today is
Oh, it's the volume of people that are publishing and the quality of the books from a self-publishing perspective. I love that. And it's too bad to see so much AI art and AI generated books starting to flood the market, because we've worked so hard to get the idea of self-published books and the quality that can come from them, to, you know, so that people can stop looking down on self-published books. And now all of a sudden, all this flood of AI stuff starting to come. So I'm hoping that that doesn't make a difference. But yeah, there's some real respect that I've seen happen with self-publishing over the years, that it took a while for us to get there.
yeah, I will mention that I am currently writing a AI illustrated book, and I would say yes, that's one of the things is just all these AI books bad, not good. The quality is not good.
Mhm.
Is frustrating, but if you do it right,
Oh
because the one I've
yeah,
been working on, it
absolutely.
takes generation after generation on these illustrations where I need to get perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
there are
Yeah,
definitely a
they're
lot.
definitely, I'm sure it's an art form, because even just getting the prompts right and getting the images consistent is a trick, and I'm sure it'll get better. And there are people putting great AI stuff out there, but, that's probably the exception right now, and that I've seen instead of the rule. So hopefully that will continue to grow and improve as well.
Yeah, yeah. And the last question I wanted to ask is, do you have one book recommendation that will help self-published authors? It could be about the publishing process, it could be about marketing, it could be marketing in general that you think might help them. One book recommendation.
So I've just finished Ricardo Fayette's book on
Mm,
marketing. children's book,
He's from Reedsy,
I'm
correct?
marketing. So he's from Reedsy. He's one of the co-founders of Reedsy, and he has a number of books on the process. But I thought originally I thought it was going to be, I'd get a few ideas, but I was extremely surprised about how much I learned from that book or how much it reinforced. So for people that are looking, and I probably would need to look it up. Maybe we can look it up and pass. So um, I think it's Amazon marketing, but it's definitely from Ricardo Fayette. And he talks a lot about various different things, not just Amazon, but all the different things you can do to market your book. And I loved it.
Okay. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of information out of general marketing books, but I haven't zoned
Mhm.
in on any specific to self-publishing, so
Can
I'll put
I
that on
can
my
I make
list.
one other recommendation for a
Yeah.
children's book that I think is going to change the world if enough people get to have it? It
Mhm.
it's called The Love Tank, and it is a beautiful story, and it helps children really understand the emotions and just like it's kind of along the lines of have you filled your bucket kind of thing, right? But teaches kids that concept in a way that's beautifully illustrated and very well done. The author is Andrea Mendoza, and she has done a phenomenal job. That was her debut book, and boy, I recommend it to everybody because of I think the impact it's going to have with children.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I think that is about it. I don't want to make this too long, but I also want to um, give you the platform for the spotlight for a second. Where can people find you? Has your new 90-day way work group started? Where
So
are you?
we have on it actually the newest one starts tomorrow. So it's January 16th, and it's going to go for 12 weeks. We're also working on increasing the frequency of these work groups. So if this is something that appeals to you and you're interested, we're going to be doing some things together that start new work groups, new cohorts at the beginning of each month. So that's going to help with for those folks that don't want to have to wait for 3 months, 6 months to get in. So that is really helpful. You can go to selfpub, that's self with a pub, madesimple.com, and that is my website. And for those of you that are looking for self-publishing help or information that you can trust, I have a YouTube channel that I would love to invite you to. It's called Self-Publishing Made Simple with April Cox. And I uploaded my 302nd video. There's a lot of step-by-step stuff. There's a lot of introduction to self-publishing, anything that you need to know about when it comes to self-publishing is probably on the channel. Copyright, search for copyright, you'll have a step-by-step walkthrough. There's just a lot of stuff there, and I do it because I want people not to be taken advantage of and to be able to find the information they need. And I also have a Facebook group called Learn to Self-Publish with April Cox that's absolutely free. And I invite you to join if you are someone that is looking for help and looking for support as you are launching your children's book or any other book for that matter.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and chatting. And everyone, check out April's YouTube channel and Facebook group and check out her website. I recommend it. I was in the work group. If you're if you haven't published a children's book and looking to publish a children's book, if you're a current author and looking to get into children's books, she is the place you should start at. I
Thank you,
100%
Brett.
recommend and endorse.
Thank you, Brett. I appreciate it.
So
Thank you
thank you
for
so
having
much.
me. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
no,
This has been a lot of fun and I appreciate it. And we'll get together again soon.
yeah, definitely. I have a lot more questions that we just couldn't fit in this time. So thank
Thank
you again, April, and I'll
thank
talk to you
you.
soon.
Bye,
All
everyone.
right.